Yes, this is a standard bag, and it's 2.5 ounce of peanuts, net weight, automatic for the people. They liked the slogan. They wanted to use it as the title of the album. This is really great, you know, and I was just so happy. I think it's been a smile on my face ever since then.
First idea for any record of ours is just, gee, let's make a record. We don't really plan a whole lot in advance as far as what things are going to sound like. We just kind of rehearse, demo things, put them down.
This record was a 9-month metamorphosis, which was, it went from, you know, being a caterpillar to being a rat to being a dog to being a chicken. I mean, it went all over the place.
Good collard greens, macaroni and cheese, sweet potato souffle.
I guess you couldn't find more different places unless you went to the desert, you know. Woodstock is great because it's very isolated. You know, you can really concentrate. Of course, the drawback of that is that you have to concentrate because there's nothing else to do.
We did demos in New Orleans at the Daniel Lanois studio, which is an old haunted mansion, supposedly haunted, and filled with kind of neat old antiques, neat instruments, and did demos there, some of which we ended up on the record. Drive is a live take from there. Bass, drums, guitar, and vocals, all live. And the New Orleans instrumental #1 was written there about 2 in the morning. That was live, too.
And then Seattle, it's a great town, you know. I mean, it's, even if you don't like coffee, it's a great town. But
so we just kind of went from studio to studio, would put something down, and I mean, I know it sounds real rock starish, but it was really entertaining to go to a different city.
I wouldn't mind making all the records. We got to stay, you know, down in Miami. It's so nice.
Meatloaf, barbecue, chuck roast, red velvet cake.
Midway through Miami, we were all kind of looking at each other, wondering what the heck this record was going to sound like, or how we were going to finish it.
It's amazing the amount of emphasis people put on the lead vocal. I know it is, you know, it's the part of the song that you really hear and everything. But because I did a couple on the last record, it's like, wow, there's all this. But you know, I've been singing on it all the records. You know, it's back there. It's just not lead vocals. So it just didn't work out that way. It's not something I worry about. You know, if there's a song that needs me to be the lead singer, I'll do it. But it's not something I really push for.
This is our kitchen. That's where it's all done at, right here. Automatic. Chicken frying, meatloaf cooked, steam table, automatic.
I think the turning point was not worrying about it. We took a weekend off and just said, hell with it. We're going to have fun in Miami. It was a great place. We were on the beach, and we all came back in fresh, and things started clicking. And I knew that everything was going to be okay when I heard that royal going at 4 in the morning.
I think he's a really great lyricist, and what mostly surprised me, though, is where he puts the words as opposed to what the words are.
I don't know where it comes from. I'm not sure he does either.
Well, if I don't like the lyrics, I'll tell him, you know. We all will. But that almost never happens. It's usually a word here or there that doesn't quite jive with what, you know, we think should be going on. But it's really kind of weird because we're kind of displaced from that. That's definitely not our forte, the three of us. I mean, really, we're not good at that. He is. He has to sing them, so we really don't have a whole, you know, we don't tell him too much. I mean, he doesn't tell us how to play our parts. We don't really tell him how to perform his.
You know, like Everybody Hurts is just as straightforward as it can be, whereas The Sidewinder Sleeps Tonight is incomprehensible, you know? I mean, you can take either extreme, and then there's everything in between.
Some people call it Tennessee Steak. Automatic.
Star Me Kitten is, you know, I mean, that one I'm not sure I can even remember how to play the organ part because I played it and it's just so weird. You know, you can't really hear the organ that well in the final version of the song, but it's such a strange organ part, and I'm not even sure I remember it now because it was so long from the time we demoed it and we didn't play it again for so long.
I'll Try Not to Breathe was inspired because when I did the demo, I had microphones that were an inch away from my guitar, and so they said, well, you got to be very quiet when you do this recording. I said, well, I'll try not to breathe. And I started playing, and Michael, no, that's a good title.
Find the River is actually, I think that's kind of straightforward, even though it isn't. To take string players everywhere you go and set them up sounds like a big pain in the butt to me.
You know, Led Zeppelin was a great band, and I've always really liked the string arrangements that he did.
John Paul Jones really added an extra element to this record that the last one didn't have, even though it had strings. Those are basically our string parts that we kind of hummed along to the symphony, and they kind of struggled with it. But John Paul Jones came in with you know, charts and definite ideas, and he really directed that portion of the record.
It's funny because we were working at Boss Studios, which is Bobby Brown's studio, and it's all the kids that work there. You know, they're younger, kind of like hip-hop oriented kids. R.E.M. doesn't mean anything at all. I mean, it just, you know, it doesn't, and that's cool. But they all had their Led Zeppelin CDs down, like the second day they knew that John Paul Jones was there, and they're all kind of waiting in line with their hands shaking. Led Zeppelin is so universal. It's like all these kids who, it's not their world at all, and they knew exactly who he was and were really impressed. Hell, they probably sampled his stuff.
I don't think Automatic for the People necessarily sounds Southern. I guess if you know the story, it does, but we just kind of like the ring of it.
The only other person we used is a guy named Knox Chandler, who's in the Psychedelic Furs. He and I and Richard Butler did a track for a Nick Drake tribute record, and he had a cello idea that I really liked.
Working with anyone can be difficult, and the same is true for all of us. But it's very good. I mean, that's what makes us what we are. The fact that we don't always see things the same is what keeps it from being boring.
You don't really think of a guy from Led Zeppelin conducting, but he was, you know, he's out there doing it.
I mean, he'll be rolling along and just like pull something out. We'll go, God, what just happened there? And it works.
Well, Scott Litt. I forgot. I'm sorry. Scott played on the record too, but he's not. I don't think of him as an outside collaborator because he's worked with us for so long.
We work with a producer now that's like really exaggerated in a lot of ways.
Well, first of all, he understands us. He's willing to push us, but doesn't push us in a commercial way. He pushes us in a more creative way, so that, you know, we'll do a track and we'll go, that's pretty good, and he'll kind of push us to kind of better the track or look for something that's really out there to shift the track in another direction, you know. And it's great because he doesn't really think about singles or, I mean, maybe he does at the mixing stage, but as far as recording goes, he just wants to make a real statement. He wants to make sure that each record is a little bit, you know, past the last one. And also, it's just too hard to break someone in, you know, because we're a really weird